What's up, Wizards? It's Dev, Mtg. We like it in Magic, and we are closing in on the end of Wilds of Eldraine spoiler season. And you can tell we only got about 10 cards or so to look at today, but quality over quantity. About 6 of those cards are about 6. Exactly 6 of those cards are either rares or mythics. So a lot of cool stuff to look at today. And we didn't even get a whole lot of commons. We got precisely 1. It's Quick Search. Go ahead and show this one to you. Why not? It's just divination, but at instant speed. Yeah. They actually did that. It's not much of a milestone, but like it is one. I'm pretty sure in standard, Thirst for Discovery and other thirsts and such are just like better than this. So why not print it? Just actually a pretty nice little piece for limited. Card advantage at instant speed for just 3 mana. It's kind of nice. So I'm always down for playing divination and sealed and stuff to make sure you hit your 4th land drop and get your bombs and stuff like that. So this is even better. Sure, I'll take it. That set is wild, isn't it? We get a 2-mana rock in standard and a strictly better divination. Whew, it's a good set, probably. That's really a low bar, but it's all it really takes for me to be half impressed. Speaking of the 2-mana rock in standard, by the way, stay tuned since we don't have a whole lot of cards to talk about today. I'm going to take up some space at the end of the video, issuing a couple of corrections for the spoiler season. That 2-mana rock is one of them I need to get to. But for now, let's jump into the uncommons. Now let's check out Gingerbread Hunter, Imadane's Recruiter, and Woodland Acolyte to kick things off in the uncommons today. And as a matter of fact, this will in the uncommons. This is all the uncommons today. They're also all adventures, and you'll note that most of the cards we're going to talk about today are adventures. And some definitely look better than others. Like Gingerbread Hunter here looks at least solid and limited. It's 5 mana, 4 and a green for a 5/5 giant. When it enters the battlefield, you get a food token. It's also got Puny Snack. It's 2 and a black for an instant adventure. Target creature gets -2/-2 till end of turn. It's a removal spell on a big guy that also has an ETB trigger. Kind of sign me up again. In like sealed, but probably not anywhere outside of that. Imadane's Recruiter is pretty neat. This is 3 mana, 2 and a red for a 2/2 human knight. When it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. But it's also got Trained Troops. This costs 5 mana, 4 and a white for a sorcery adventure that creates 2 white knight creature tokens with vigilance. Alright, so despite the fact that the adventure half on this is overcosted, you might cast it some of the time. It synergizes with the creature half. If you have 8 mana, I guess, you can cast them all at the same turn. But I do like that the creature half of this is just like a 3 mana 3/2 haste. Kind of. Like, also gives all your other creatures a little bit of a bonus. Almost Reckless Stormseeker, but not like really Reckless Stormseeker, you know? So I'm not like the biggest fan of it, but it reminds me of like Flamekin Zealot. You know, effects like this can be kind of desirable in a format full of like creature tokens, and I think that there's an argument for that in this format. So I don't know, stuff like this that just gives all the dudes you created that turn through hook or crook, right? +1/+0 and haste can actually be a relevant card. Flamekin Zealot has been before in like Bridge from Below. So I just wanted to point that out about this card. I kind of like the creature half. There's some like combo shenanigans you can do with it and stuff like that. It's kind of like a first day of class. If you remember that card. So I don't know. I just kind of like it, but the creature, the adventure half rather, is just way overcosted. But there's 3 bodies on this one card, so that's got to be worth something. Let's check out Woodland Acolyte. This is 3 mana, 2 and a white for a 2/2 human cleric. When it ETBs, you draw a card. But it also has Mend the Wilds. This is a green mana for an instant adventure. You put target permanent card from your graveyard on top of your library. So kind of a reclaim effect on one side. And then, what is it, a Phyrexian Rager or something on the other half? Just a 3 mana 2/2 that ETBs, you draw a card. Like, solid card on both ends. A lot of value on this. Just a single mana, too, for the reclaim effect, which is, you know, what reclaim costs, and this is kind of like worse than reclaim, so I guess there's that, but still. Well, actually, was reclaim a sorcery or an instant? I bet it was a sorcery, but I guess we'll see when I edit this video. Crossing my fingers, but anyway, one way or the other, the card does look like a ton of value on one dude, and I just like cards like this. Not sure it goes anywhere in standard, but it is like the kind of grindy, mid-rangey sort of value I like, but, you know, if you're going to be a playable 3-drop in standard, you have to be really very, very good. And I'm not sure this quite makes the cut, but look at everything it does, man. It's a solid card, obviously. Also kind of cute that 2 of these sort of loop a little bit, which is, you can make that work. That's neat. But let's move on to the rares today, because there are a bunch of these. I say a bunch, like there were 15 of them. There were 6 rares and mythics today. And some of them, I think, kind of look like uncommons, like Gumdrop Poisoner. This is 3 mana, 2 and a black for a 3/2 human warlock with lifelink. When it ETBs, target creature gets -X/-X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life that you've gained this turn. But you can also tempt with sweets for just a single black mana. This is an instant. instant, and you create a food token. A single mana for the food token seems to be the going rate, and I do like that if you have 5 mana, right, you can create the food token on an earlier turn and then pop the food token, play this thing, and suddenly I think it's -3/-3. That's pretty good, but this is one of those cards that looks like it has to be rare because it's like kind of very, very good and limited, especially given the lifelink, which is an ability I don't want to skip over. It can be really important. Also kind of works well in multiples because it has lifelink, so I think I want to point that out too, right? And sometimes this can ambush a big dude after combat, take it down for the rest of whatever toughness it's got left that turn. So I don't know, cool things about Gumdrop Poisoner, you guys know. Never thought I'd say that in a Magic the Gathering review video for a not unset, but yeah, Gumdrop Poisoner, that's a Magic card and it's pretty decent. I guess I should point out too that in Limited, but even beyond Limited, this creates a food token for bargaining purposes and for other like, I want tokens in play kind of purposes, because there's a few different outlets for that in this set, right? If you're in like a Golgari food deck, boom, just make yourself a food token. You can cast that in all kinds of different ways for offense most of the time. So I don't know, a lot of cool stuff about this card, man. I like it. I usually like people, creatures, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Monsters, Pokemon that can like kill a thing when they come into play. And I've seen kind of a lot. I feel like I've said that a few times this spoiler season. Like there's a lot of different creatures in this set that can blow something up when they come into play. So just keep your eye out for this. I think it does a lot of stuff in Limited, especially at the pre-release, but I don't know. There's a possibility this sees a little bit of play in Standard if we're gaining some life, but I wouldn't hold my breath too much. That said, it's obviously a decent thing. And lastly, I guess, I like the art. It's a good thing, especially that it doesn't have some sort of nightmarish art that'll haunt me for the rest of my life. Oh, God. Oh, God. Let's move on hurriedly to Twining Twins here. This is 4 mana, 2 and 2 blue for a 4/4 fairy wizard with flying, vigilance, and ward 1. That's decent. And it also has Swift Spiral. This is 1 and a white for an instant adventure. Exile target non-token creature. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Yeesh. Okay, so like a really solid 4 mana 4/4 flyer with 2 other abilities. Ward is always good. Vigilance is underrated. This is sick, actually. In like a Wandering Emperor format, this can't, get got, I guess, by that card. It's always worth pointing out, I think. So I've always liked Vigilance, man. It gets a bad rap. It's worth a mana, We've kind of poo-pooed a lot recently in the last, 20 sets about like, man, 4/4 flyer's not as good as it used to be. But I mean, slap a few abilities on there, it starts looking a lot more attractive is all I'm saying. But still, what I really like about this is the adventure half, which I'd say about pretty much every adventure creature in this set almost. This can keep your opponent from smacking you in the face for a turn, or it can just like repeat and enter the battlefield trigger on your side of the table. It can save one of your guys from removal, just like your standard normal instant speed blink spell. But it's also on a chunky flyer. Big chunky boy just comes into play. I'm hard to target. It's like, okay, it's just kind of a blink spell that I would want to play anyway in a bunch of decks, and then it's connected to, not embarrassing creature. Check that off the list too. Just really solid card kind of on both ends here. And you got to pay attention to those when it comes to the adventures, man. Hot card. Wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't long until we're all whining about the twining. Just really sorry. Last thing I should probably point out is that unlike a lot of other 2-mana blink spells, this doesn't let you blink tokens. You can't remove tokens, you can't do it. I know you want to, but no, just do all the other 5 things you can do with this card. Yeah, it's still fair. So really good thing. But hey, you think I'm done with blue adventure creatures? You think I'm done? I think there's actually a slightly better one. Let's take a look at Lochmere Whale or whatever it's called. Horned Loch Whale. There it is now that I have my phone in front of me, but you can't tell that because of YouTube magic. It's cost 6 mana, 4 and 2 blue for a 6/6 whale with flash and ward 2. And it enters the battlefield tapped unless it's your turn. Okay, who cares? But it's also got Lagoon Breach. This is 2 mana, 1 and a blue for an instant adventure. The owner of target attacking creature you don't control puts it on the top or bottom of their library. Now, they get to choose top or bottom. This card's bonkers. This card's so good. First of all, how many giant things live in that lock? How big is the lock? Is it always at war with the Lochmere Serpent? Are they chill? Like, what are they married? I don't know. Like, what's going on in the lock is all I want to know. But all that stuff aside, woo! Like, oh man, just big, good card, man. Like, this is like a Lochmere Serpent, like one of those other like big blue dumb like control finishers that we see every now and again, like a Hullbreaker horror. I don't think it's quite as good as Hullbreaker, but it kind of works with a Hullbreaker. I don't know. Anyway, I like it, is all I'm trying to say here, man. The adventure half of this is really good, man. It's not quite blue removal, but they're going to choose to put the thing on top of their library like 8 times out of 10 or more, 8.7 times out of 10. And it's going to replace their draw. It's going to be really annoying. Like, it's not quite bounce. It is so much more annoying than bounce when you do something like this. Replacing your opponent's next draw step or their next draw period is kind of infuriating when it happens to you. So just 2 mana for that. That's really good. And then in cases where they're like, no, I really need to draw a card and it shouldn't be this guy, so I'm going to put it on bottom. Basically, you cast a removal spell in blue for just 2 mana at instant speed. I think this is really, really good. You know, these big control finishers usually need some sort of removal spells in the early game, preferably 1 to 2 mana, to help you get to the point in the game where you can cast guys like this, you know? Well, this guy like helps you do that just on the same card. And like once you actually cast him, it's pretty fine, you know? I guess he can't like flash down and block or whatever, but like most of the time in a control deck, you're just going to play at the end of your opponent's turn and effectively untap it immediately anyways. Like, who cares, you know? I kind of like it. Once you do get it down, it's a little bit slightly, I guess, vanilla, but at least it's got the ward and stuff. It's not terrible. It's just like a big dude that also has some kind of, not incredible, but I will say these like time ebb kind of effects. This is restricted to attacking creatures, and they usually aren't. But I guess because of that, this is a time ebb that costs like 1 less mana than usual and is instant speed, and that's like pretty good, man. So I don't know. I could keep going on about this forever, but it's kind of redundant at this point. I like this card, and I think you should too. Do you like this card? Let me know. Let's look at our last rare of the day, I guess. It's Song of Totentants. It's X and a red for a sorcery. Create X 1/1 black rat creature tokens with this creature can't block. Creatures you control gain haste till end of turn. Okay, so like the fun tech on this is that it's just a single red mana to give all your guys haste. So I guess you have like Kenrith's ability, his red ability on a card. That's something, but still. I think it's neat. It's like Fireball. It's the Fireball in the set, but instead of just doing damage directly to them, it makes a bunch of rats, and they get haste. So that makes it more like a Fireball. I don't know. I kind of like it. I think especially in conjunction with some of the stuff that we've seen in the set that gives rats like +2/+0. There's like a couple of cards like that. This could be really, really sick and limited. Again, that might be why it had to be rare. But even outside of that, like, pretty simple card when you think about it, that there might be real applications for in standard. There might be applications for beyond standard in formats where we actually have access to stuff like impact tremors. You knew I was going to bring up impact tremors. It's just seems you just turn it into a Fireball. I mean, I don't know why you just don't play Fireball, but Fireball doesn't put like 7 guys on the table. And this does. They can't block, which is lame, but still, with impact tremors, I guess you get like 6 damage and then 6 guys attacking immediately. So that's cool. But still, any effect that triggers when a creature enters the battlefield, probably really very good with this. Anything that wants you to have a bunch of tokens on the table or go wide, let's go. It doesn't have to be in a Rats deck, but of course, like if you are building a Rats deck in standard, like, yeah, play a few copies of this. Let's move up to the Mythics here and look at the last couple of cards of the day. They're the last 2 virtues in the set. These both look pretty neat, man. The Virtue of Courage is the red one. It's 3 and 2 red. That's 5 mana for an enchantment. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you may exile that many cards from the top of your library. You may play those cards this turn. Neat. It's also got Embereth Blaze. Just 1 and a red for an instant that deals 2 to any target. So I think that Bone Crusher Giant is a just better card. It seems to be what everyone is comparing this to today, probably because of the adventure half. And even Bone Crusher Giant's adventure half is like slightly better, but not by that much. It doesn't matter most of the time. So I get the comparison, but I think I'd just rather have Bone Crusher. Actually, I probably wouldn't rather have Bone Crusher in standard. Probably not, never again. But still, if I'm comparing cards in a vacuum, Bones is probably better altogether, but still, this is a nice little like card advantage piece in the late game. If you do get to the late game and you're like mono red deck, this is something that's going to help you keep seeing fresh cards, and mono red really needs to be able to do that. In the meantime, fine burn spell. You know, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You'll play it. I think we're actually seeing like a burn deck shape up in standard right now. You know, we got like Play with Fire and Lightning Strike, Stoke the Flames. We've had that for a while. We got the Battle that deals 4 damage to them. Now we got this, you know, we got Mechanized Warfare. I said it right. I always say Mechanized Production. Always. We got Mechanized Warfare in standard. So I don't know. Things are kind of looking up for a burn deck. And this is the way in a burn deck. Again, if the game goes too long or you had to use too many of your spells to blow away creatures in the early game, your opponent's life total is still high, you're running low on cards. That's a situation a burn deck comes across all the time. It's pretty standard, right? Well, this will help you get that little bit of card advantage once you do draw that play with fire off the top, and then you start rolling with a card like this. So, I don't know, man. I don't know. Seems actually pretty decent, and if nothing else, like, why not play it in standard? You know, again, fine removal spell if nothing else, and it can go face if you wanted to. And on the back end, if you get there, and you might, you know, people pretend like every game of standard ends on turn 4, but no, a lot of games of standard end on like turn 12 or whatever. So it's not completely unlikely that you actually play this. The only kind of real negative I have to say about it is that I've tried like 5 mana enchantments in standard a few times, especially in red, and like, you know, like all will be one, which by the way is a cute little combo with this if you're interested, but that's like 2 5-mana enchantments, and like I've already had enough trouble just sticking all will be one and doing cool stuff with that. This is a format with a ton of speed in best of one, first of all, so you might not get this down. Game might end on turn 4 or 5. It could actually happen to you. But also, there's a bunch of, like, you know, Lorn of the Third Path, Boseiju, and just other, like, main deckable enchantment and artifact removal. So it's hard to stick, like, a big, fancy enchantment and win the game off of it. So I'm not super sure, you know, Arcane Bombardment didn't do the thing for the same kind of reasons. So I don't have all the faith in these 5 mana red enchantments, even if I really want to play them with Urabrask. Think about that combo on curve. Seems a little bit disgusting, actually. Urabrask basically draws you a card and deals the damage whenever you play a spell, and like, good lord. But you got to set all that up. So like maybe in a big red deck, maybe in a burn deck, maybe even in mono red aggro, but we'll have to actually kind of wait and see. But there's not much holding me back from liking this card, to be honest. I think it is one of the more solid cards in the set. And boy, is she commander playable. I guess I probably should point that out too. I haven't really said the C word like this whole time. This whole video. Wow, we almost made it a whole spoiler video without me saying EDH, but I have to eventually, and this is probably in some ways made for that format, while also maybe still being able to break into standard. I got faith. Well, let's check out Virtue of Strength here. This is 5 and 2 green. That is 7 mana bird enchantment. If you tap a basic land for mana, it produces 3 times as much of that mana instead. But it's also got Garen Big Growth. This is a sorcery adventure. Return target creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay, similar conversation, I guess, on this card, because on the one half, you get like a regrowth effect, a regrowth adjacent effect. Don't make me put like 5 different cards on the screen. Nature's Spiral or whatever it's called, you know, but still you get one of those effects for just a single mana. And then the other half of it, you get Nyx Bloom Ancient. A little exciting, if nothing else, you know. I mean, it does cost 7 old mana, but, and so did Nyx Bloom Ancient. Nyx Bloom Ancient never saw much play, but you can Doomblade a Nyx Bloom Ancient. Nyx Bloom Ancient. Why can't I say his name? Yeah, you can just like kill that guy with a removal spell. And I guess you could do the same thing. I was just making the point that there's a bunch of like main deckable enchantment hate in standard. So same kind of theory applies. But technically there's less enchantment removal than there is creature removal. So, you know, I mean, once you do have this out, you already have 7 mana. Dev, you already have 7 mana. Do you need to triple your mana at that point? Yes. Yes, you do. Okay, that's my stance on this. You absolutely do. You have to play the card that puts all the rats into play. And you have to play it for like 40. So if I'm going to do that, I have to have this thing in play. So that's my stance. Anyway, yeah, I think the card is pretty good. I don't think it's the Great Henge, but hey, the Great Henge kind of defeats one of my last arguments because that thing ramps. It costs 7 mana. Well, no, it doesn't. Not really. No, it doesn't. It costs like 4 mana because you have creatures in play. That's how the Great Henge works. So one of my arguments epically owned, but anyway, like once you do have this out, that is all the ramp you'll ever need. I don't think you can deny that, but just in the meantime, you get like a solid little regrow effect. Like, yes, I think this card is very powerful, but I don't think you're going to play 4 copies of this. I think you probably play a single copy of this and just kind of let it ride, see what happens. By the way, I should address it. If the overall vibe feels slightly different in this video in terms of how I'm presenting things, that's because it probably kind of is, you know? We're close to the end of spoiler season now, which is nice, but that means the delirium is sort of at a peak. I haven't shaven in too long, you know? I don't sleep and stuff like that. All I do is look at cards, but soon it will start to come down, and I know my body knows that's going to happen soon. It's a little excited about that, so I feel, light as air right now. We're getting close to the end of spoiler season, but we still have about 40 cards left to preview in this set, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to just dump them all on us in the next day or two, so get ready for that. But I know that we are nearing the end of actual preview season, and I might get a shower and shave very soon, so I'm happy about that. But all that said, I feel breezy tonight, but I still have to put on my big boy pants and issue a few corrections for the spoiler season. Now, first of all, there's whatever I got wrong in this video, okay? That stupid thing I said back there, what an idiot. Do I not read cards, right? I'm sure there's something. But I also talked about the Iron Crag yesterday, and here's the thing, I can't read. Excuse me, sir. I can't read, so I don't... So sometimes I miss where like quotation marks in. It's exactly what happened on the Iron Crag. I was under the impression, and I went on a whole flavor rant about it. I thought it was going to be funny, but it didn't land because I wasn't correct. See, that'll happen. YouTube lesson for you. It's important. Learn from my mistakes. But yeah, it doesn't make the creature it's attached to, once it becomes a legendary equipment, it doesn't make the creature it's attached to lose all of its abilities. That doesn't happen. You see, the Iron Crag itself loses all of its other abilities once it becomes this Excalibur thing, is what's happening. Because that's where the quotes end. Target creature, equipped creature gets +3/+3. Quotes end. And then Iron Crag loses all other abilities. The card it could be more clear, but I should blame myself on that one. Your creature will not lose all of its abilities. That makes the card even better than I thought it was. And I kind of like fangirled out about the card for like 5 minutes and it's a rocking standard, and it's even better than I think it is, so that should tell you something. But if you want an example for how I can't maths, then you just look at Gruff Triplets here. I think I said in the video it makes a 9/9 all total, and it makes a 12/12, Deb. That's how math works again, because the first one dies, there's still 2 on the battlefield, they become 6/6s, right? And then when another one of them dies, the remaining one gets those 6 counters, becomes a 12/12. So, well, I almost screwed it up again. The one that died was 6 power. So the remaining one gets 6 counters and becomes a 12/12. You see, you have to use very exact language. This is a job that can be tiresome in this way at times, but I just got the math like straight up wrong on this. I was like 3 + 3 + 3 is 9, and that is not how the card works. The last Gruff Triplet or whatever will end up as a 12/12, but you already know that. Everyone in the comments section told me. It turns out if I get stuff like the Iron Crag and Gruff Triplets wrong, I think it's actually kind of good for me. It drives engagement to the comments section, gets the video put in more recommended feeds. I should slip up more often, but I promise you I'm not doing this on purpose. I just, I try to get these videos out as quickly as possible. I'm a one-man team, so it's, writing and editing, catering, all that. I got recording. I got to do it all, uploading, thumbnail, blah, blah. So it's, sometimes things get a little rushed and the videos still don't get out till 1 a.m. I'm sure this video is a good example of that. So sometimes I just miss things when I'm reading cards, and I apologize. But there's also one more, I guess, rotisserie elemental. I screwed that one up. I think I said that, like, it can get blocked and still draw you cards. It can't do that. You can't. If it gets blocked, it's not drawing you any cards. It's just a 1/1 that got blocked, so it's bad. It's probably bad. It's probably worse than I thought in this case. So there's that. I guess if you want one more, I kept calling this card Picnic Runner. It's not what it's called. It's called Picnic Ruiner, a testament that once the mind sees a combination of letters or things or symbols or whatever, it's just going to run with that. It's just going to think that that's what it says, even though it doesn't. I had like 5 opportunities to note that this says Picnic Ruiner. Never did. I feel like an egg for that. I don't know why I did that. It's called Picnic Ruiner. I feel like an egg. I don't know what it means, but I got one more thing that I want to talk about today, and that is just because we had so few cards today. I'm going to throw in a bonus card. Here's a little extra content for you. One card from the Commander set that got previewed today that I really, really liked. I'm not going to talk too long about it, but I thought it was cool. Misleading Signpost is my kind of magic card. This is 3 mana. It's 2 and a blue for an artifact with flash that taps to add a blue mana. But when it enters the battlefield during the declare attacker's step, you may reselect which player or permanent target attacking creature is attacking. Now, this is a great card. It sits at the crossroads, best pun of spoiler season so far, of a bunch of different things I really like. It does something that like no other card does. A super unique, fun effect on this thing. Of course, you can't turn the creature on its own controller or whatever, but a slight little mini Mindslaver thing. It also taps for a blue. It's just a rock. It has flash. You just play it during their declare attackers. It's such a cool card. I really like the design of it an awful lot, but I think that this might have decent effect on a game of Commander too. If nothing else, it's a rock, but you'll probably at least get one cool thing out of it. You can basically fog one creature, keep it from attacking you. There's politics involved there because you got to make it attack somebody else. So, but I still think it's just like a unique card that's not like completely busted that I still like think might be somewhat playable. It does a lot of neat stuff that we don't see too often. And you'll see me highlight these cards every time over like a big dumb bomb that's going to be Commander playable for the rest of time. And it's going to hit $50 and we're all going to be like, you got to reprint that card. Those cards are fine. Powerful cards are fine. These are my favorite Magic cards. And I could do do a whole extra 15 minutes because I've seen people in the comments section this season, and I want to do a whole video on it, be like, man, why do content creators, just not even me, just content creators in general, I see you down there, get so excited for cards that aren't standard playable? There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into that, including just like the fact that limited is a thing that people do, commander's a thing people do, modern, pauper, pre-modern, there's a million formats that aren't standard, so there's that. And one of them is limited. I don't want to do 15 minutes of content on this, but one thing I want to say is that one of the reasons I get excited for cards is because they're new Magic cards. I've been playing Magic for 30 years. There's not a whole lot of stuff you could do on a Magic card that's brand new. And this is just kind of a really unique effect. I get excited about stuff that I've never really seen before, or when design is used in an interesting way. And that's why I like stuff like this above, oh, this card's going to crack standard in half. I actually kind of hate those cards and really like stuff like this. So I don't know. You be your kind of Magic player. I'm not kind of Magic player. Sometimes I just like when cards are cool. And I think this is a really cool card. So, and I think that about a lot of cards. You see me put on my objective hat all the time. Regal Bunnycorn is causing this like huge stir in the community. And I'm back here like, I don't think it's actually very good. I take those shots because I'm trying to be objective about a card's standard playability. But at the other, on the other extreme, sometimes I just like when cards are cool. And there's a lot of really cool cards in this set. And for what it's worth, I think there's a lot of standard playable cards in this set too. But that's all I've really got so far. We're going to finish up really soon, but then it's top 10 cards, top 10 sleepers. We're going to review every single card in a speed run on Twitch. That's going to be real fun. Not sure exactly when, but we're going to do it soon. We may do it this weekend, actually. We'll see. But in any case, I'll see you at least one, if not two more times before spoiler season's over entirely. But just make sure you're subbed if you haven't done it yet. If you like my face, even if you don't like my face and you hate my content, just sub. It would really help me out a lot. Just be, it doesn't cost anything. But if you do want to throw some money my way, I would understand if you don't. But if you have an extra $1 in your pocket at the end of each month, it would help if you pass it my way on Patreon. That way you'll get to vote on what decks we do at the beginning of Wilds of Eldraine season. And you've heard the thing before, but I really can't stress how much Patreon helps. That's all I'm going to say this time. But I guess what I have to do now is pull a card off the couch. I can't forget. I've already forgotten once the spoiler season. I'm not going to do it again. Let's see what's over here in the left-hand portion of the couch. This part of the couch, it's actually the right-hand side of the couch. It keeps biting me every time. I don't have a good feeling about it. I don't know what it is, but I do not have a good feeling about it. But I should have. It's Axelrod Gunnarsson, everybody. Especially old school Magic players. Remember this from Chronicles, this one, originally from, I believe, Legends. Yeah, it says so right there. But this is a terrible card. I'm going to read this card to you, and if you've never heard it, you're going to be like, oh, it's really bad. It is. But we used to love this guy. First of all, because look at him. Can you see him? He's a big giant. Cool color palette. Moon in the background. Looks awesome. Good stuff. But yeah, this is 8 mana. It costs 8 mana. 4, 2 black, and 2 red for a 5/5 trample. It's a legend. I'm pretty sure he's a giant as well. Whenever a creature is damaged by Axelrod Gunnarsson and put into the graveyard, you gain 1 life, and Axelrod deals 1 damage to target player. So if he's blocked in combat and kills the guy, then you gain a life, you drain. You gain a life, and they lose a life. For 8 mana, it doesn't seem great, but this is the kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff that we used to love back in the day, man. It's not a good card. But I will always love Axelrod, dude. I really will, dude. Dude, like 7th grade dev. Come on. But anyway, that's all. I strolled down memory lane complete. We got to look forward and think about new cards because there aren't that many left. Just join us for the rest of the spoiler season. Let me know how you felt about everything down there in the comments section. And I'll catch you cats later. I'm Dev from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.